Hello and welcome to the Matthew Alton Art channel again. Probably the last video of 2025, this one. I might squeeze another one in between Christmas and New Year, see how the festivities go. This one is Return to Gouache painting, and I was out on a walk the other day in the sort of mid-afternoon, and I actually caught a glimpse of the sun as it was setting, so I took a photograph as reference, and I thought it would make quite a nice painting. Quite a difficult subject to paint. I think sunsets are quite difficult to get the balance of tone right with colour. So I thought, in for a challenge, I'd give it a go. You can see that I'd done a very rough sketch out using pencil on the beige paper that I'm using. If those of you who have watched the channel before will know that when I use gouache, I like to use beige paper. Gives you a mid-tone to start with. Helps you balance the tones right from the beginning of the painting. I'm using Derwent waterfill brushes again, of various sizes. And I'm not slavishly copying the photograph, but I am wanting to get the sort of overall feel of the reference that I took. And by the end of the painting, I think I've sort of successfully managed that. It's looking a bit messy at the moment, but all does become resolved in the end. I think it's important to say that though, with any painting that you embark on, they often go through messy stages, and you sort of want to give up at that point. And I perhaps thought, am I in the right mood when I'd got to this point really? But I persevered through and I ended up doing okay in the end. It's quite small, as you can see. It's only 14.5 by 14.5 centimetres, I think. Now trying to add a pop of the orange that was right on the horizon, behind the trees really, that you'll see that I add soon. Again, because this is a time-lapse using gouache, you can see how much the lighter colours dull down as they dry. They look quite bright when you put them on, but because it's sped up, you can see them sort of almost disappearing to a certain extent. So it's a matter of practice makes perfect with gouache. You sort of have to predict what it will look like by the time it's dried. Of course, the advantage of gouache is if it doesn't look like you thought it was going to look, you can go over it again. The opaqueness of the paint is really good from that point of view, which of course watercolour it's much more difficult to do that with. I think overall, the thing that's wrong with this by the time I get to the end of the painting is the sky isn't quite luminous enough. The blues, I mean, here. And perhaps that's partly because I'm using beige paper for this. Maybe I'll try another sunset at some point and try it using white paper. See if I can get that lightness of the sky. And that's what I was meaning when I started the video and said it's difficult balance between tones and colour, because of course some blues are darker than others, but you want the sky to be bright but blue. You can't just add more and more white to it because it becomes too pale. So maybe the white paper would have helped with the luminosity of this sky somehow. Now I'm tethering this sky that I've done to the landscape by beginning to put in the trees at the bottom. You can see that I'm just using quite a big brush to put some darks in, because obviously at sort of ground level there isn't any light penetrating through the layers of trees and bushes that we've got there. And now I'm using a very fine watercolour brush to just put some branch details on, trying to observe the photograph to see how the trees that are in the photograph are growing, the shape of them, to make it look realistic-ish. It's quite an impressionistic painting this though, so it doesn't matter if they're perfect. Just put some lighter variation in the bottom there to indicate the bushes that these trees are growing out of. But overall, considering it was such a daunting task, getting this sky right, I'm quite pleased with it overall. But as I say, there's possibly a problem with the luminosity, and I'll perhaps persevere with some more sunsets at some point to see if I can get that right. But not too bad overall, I think. Took about an hour to complete, so not too much. But then it's a very small painting. It will be for sale on Etsy, I suppose, at some point, although it might go into an exhibition before then. I've got a few exhibitions coming up. Well, this is the final painting. The photographs are a little bit high contrast, but you get the impression. Overall, I'm quite happy with it. Difficult subject to tackle. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If it's the last one, I won't see you until the new year, but if it's not, have a good Christmas and a great new year if you can. And I will be back in 2026, hopefully as prolific as I've been in 2025. See you all then. Okay, have a great Christmas and I'll see you soon. Bye.